Welcome back to Media Week. Well, 10 Network almost doubling its full-year loss to $312 million on the back of a write-down in the value of its TV licence. But the broadcaster is predicting a big lift to advertising revenue thanks to its tie-up with Foxtel's MCN. 10's after-tax losses for full year 15 widened by 85.5%, while revenue got a boost, up over 4.5%. Shares in the new company resumed trade after completing a $56 million institutional offer. Let's get more on just how that share's been tracking. Evan Lucas joining us from IG. Evan, good afternoon to you. Unfortunately, not a good start for 10 shares coming online, significantly weaker today.
Significantly weaker, and look, part of it is because if you have a look at that raising that they're doing, that 77 million, it is EPS dilutive, and a lot of analysts have downgraded them as well. Also this week we did see their full year numbers, and you've already alluded to a lot of it. EBITDA down to obviously a loss of 12 million. That was much higher than the market expected, almost double. I think what's also interesting is that, look, they are very positive about revenue, and they should be. They are seeing an increase in revenue, and that is good. Viewership numbers are also stronger than they had been in the previous year, but costs are the one things that are really making people scratch their heads, up 6.5%, but they're actually now on FY16 numbers on track to have the same levels of costs they did in 2014, and back then they'd already paid for the rights for the Winter Olympics and also for the Commonwealth Games. So they're on the same level with nowhere near the same programming, and that's the concern that they have, is that obviously the programming costs and structural costs are really hurting them. So there is still a long way to go with 10, and very much a lot of muddied and very unclear air about where they're still heading.
And Evan, talking to James Manning a little earlier about Nine Entertainment, because it's been out with some big announcements, streaming channels online, HD, new channels. How do you expect that to impact the broader industry as well?
Very much expect 7 to very much be the next one in line. 10 are already probably going to get there with 10 Play. It is where they're all heading. It is where they're investing a lot of money. Again, looking at the 10 numbers that we saw this week, they are very much talking up that obviously if there is capital expenditure to be done, it is going to be in online streaming. And 9 has beat them to a punch. There wasn't a huge reaction from the share price when that was announced, but it is seen as a positive. It is seen as that next frontier and a market that they haven't really sort of jumped into yet. We know all about how much Netflix has taken off, and it is an ad revenue generator that will certainly yet to be touched. So it is a step forward. It does mean, therefore, you can finally get free-to-air TV streamed online at a much faster timing rate than it did in the future, and I expect the other two major free-to-air stations to join 9 very quickly. All
right, Evan Lucas, as always, great to get your insights. Thanks very much.
Thanks, guys.
Evan Lucas there from IG. And now back to James Manning, of course, from Media Week on 10, because we've covered off on 2 of the free-to-airs. Might as well get to the third now. They've been out with their full-year results. That tie-up as well with Foxtel. Is the worst behind them?
Gee, after hearing you and Evan chatting, I'm pulling back a little bit now. It's going to be a bit more bullish.
Oh, good to get a better different perspective.
But look, you know, you hesitate to say turn the corner, landmark result, but I do think there is some, you know, I think it was a good result from the TV's trading just in the black, you know, taking out the one-off cost and that, and yeah,
and it's backward-looking as well. The result.
Yeah,
I mean, going forward, they might do better. Some of their
they talk about the costs up. They've got they've got 4 or 5 pretty good franchises now, which they're going to bring back, and they all did plus audiences this year. So if they can build that up again, and they're going to be trading on these good figures this year for next year's revenue. So I think there's a little bit of a good story. The upfront's about, what, 2 weeks away from the 10 upfront or something.
Okay.
So we know roughly what it's going to be, but there'll be some new shows as well. And if they, you know, their picks have been pretty good lately.
All right, well, let's see how they play out in ratings then, because I'm pretty sure they've got a couple of the top spots. Let's take a look now at the ratings for week 43, I should say. And there you have it, The Bachelorette.
There you go.
Look, there is the franchise that they're really pumping.
Yeah.
The Bachelorette and The Bachelor doing very well. And there you have it, the final decision and the finale there. Coming in at 1 and 2. The Block, 7 News Sunday, also in that top 5 spot.
Yep.
Turning the page.
Interestingly, that new 9 channel, 9 Life, is going to be showing the US Bachelor.
Okay. So no doubt they can get some of that.
A bit of muddying of the waters.
Yeah, no doubt. OK, let's take a look now at subscription television ratings for week 43. A Place to Call Home, wow, that one doing really well.
Some massive numbers.
Moving from 7 to Foxtel.
160,000 just on the overnight.
Gogglebox. Great Australian Bake Off also doing well.
Yep, very good.
Turning the page, of course, no surprise to see some rugby in there as well. The New Zealand, the World Cup.
Yeah. Just if those hours are a bit kinder to Fox Sports, because it's middle of the night really viewing, so it's great to get in the top 10.
Yeah, exactly. True, some 3 a.m. matches in there. All right, let's get back to some other news we've been watching, because regional TV cutbacks are continuing. We're seeing some movement with Win Ballarat. What's going on?
Yeah, look, you hope this is not people just trying to, use the market to get the sort of media reform they want. But Win closing down, well, not closing completely their Ballarat operation, but moving the news bulletin to, it's going to be read out of Wollongong. So they centralise a lot of their regional news. It'd be great to think you could still have regional hubs for your broadcasters where the complete news team operates out of the local community. But I guess those days are gone.
And as you mentioned, regional's being very vocal about those media regulations.
Yeah,
Moving
absolutely.
on to radio, because a lot of talk this week, the Southern Cross Stereo AGM, there's talk about who's going to be hosting that morning show, and Rove certainly is hosting it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about who else might be in there too.
Yeah, look, Sam Frost is the tip to co-host with him. I think we're going to know by the time we're back on air next week, so we'll talk a bit about them. But they're making a lot of noise in the market. 10 a bit of guidance on the first half. Their figures are up, so bit of a resurgence there. So they're doing some nice numbers there in their first half. So they're moving in the right direction with CEO Grant Blackley.
And over at Nova Entertainment, they made that big announcement about the Red Room.
Yeah, Taylor Swift, took a few people's breath away in the trade. Gee, how did they manage to secure Taylor Swift? Because everybody's in this live event space now, both Southern Cross Stereo, iHeartRadio and ARN. So
how did they secure her?
Well, I just say they worked with Taylor's people really hard. You're the promoter here. They worked on this for about 3 or 4 months. They've been chatting about it for a long time. They didn't want to go public, so they thought, gee, until it's all, they've crossed every T and dotted every I, we just don't want to, we want to make sure this happens. So Hamilton Island will be the gig, so it'll be a pretty spectacular setting, I think, for who is, you can't argue with the fact she's the biggest artist in the world right now.
Yeah, big move for Nova there. Yep. And Women's Health Awards this week. It was this week. What do we see come out of that? Yeah,
look, it's a great piece of branding. They're a good supporter of women in sport. And Seven came out at the Tim Warner spoke at the awards and said they're going to dedicate a channel during the Rio Olympics to women's sport. So, that's a pretty significant get. The Felicity Harley, the editor of Women's Health, said she really wants to turn this into a marquee event for women's sports. You've got several for men like the Brownlow Medal, the Dally M's, I guess, for rugby league. She really wants this to be a marquee event every year to pay tribute to the women's sporting achievements. Yeah,
and Jackie Frank talking to us while you were away about just how much those magazines take advantage of the Olympics coming up. Of course, big year for some of those health titles. Now, finally, Crown. They've taken 500 media people to Macau for the opening of a casino. You and me weren't there.
We could have done a show from over there.
Yeah, well, it'd be interesting.
Inside word on that. But, 500 people, that's a massive turnout, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think they've been repaid with some coverage all around the world. Had some big stars there. Look, Martin Scorsese directed what's been called the most expensive advertisement ever. I think they talked about, $70 million or something for a very short promo for this.
I'm pretty sure Leonardo DiCaprio was in that as well, so nice little payday for them.
Yes, look, for sure. And part of James Packer's empire, of course. He's got all the connections, with the in the entertainment business, of course, with his Rat Pack Entertainment. They've made some big movies and connections to all the stars.
Well, that's why you can get them to those movies, plus a bit of pay. $70 million doesn't go astray either. All right, that does wrap up a very busy week in the media. Thanks very much to our co-host, James Matting, editor and publisher of Media Week. We've got more news and analysis coming up next.